Discover the sinister secrets of the haunted forest. 7 Nights of Terror Unleashed. The invitation taunted Sarah as she stared at the words glowing with a malevolent promise. Secrets of the haunted forest, it read, calling forth shadows and whispers from the past that seemed to claw at the corners of her mind. The night held a grip of frost, the air crackling with an invisible electricity that sent chills down her spine. Her heart raced at the thought of her children, Jamie and Lily, exploring the dark woods at the edge of their quaint Maplewood neighborhood. These woods were infamous, cloaked in the tales of those who vanished and those who were never seen again. Could she gather enough courage to plunge into that lingering darkness? With a shiver, she shook off her apprehension, and the sparse autumn sunlight flickered through the clouds, giving a false sense of security. The neighborhood felt like a different realm as Jamie dashed ahead, his exhilarated laughter slicing through the chilly air, while Lily skipped beside him, both of them oblivious to the dread creeping into Sarah's heart. She gripped their hands tightly, trying to mask her fear with a smile. As they approached the edge of the forest, an unnatural silence wrapped around them like a shroud. The promise of terror loomed, the trees towering like ancient sentinels hauntingly still. An old sign swung in the breeze, its warning etched in degrading wood, "Trespassers beware." The unease in Sarah's stomach knotted tighter. "It's okay, kids," she said, forcing bravery into her voice. But even as she spoke, the wind whispered back, chilling and unsettling. Deeper they went, the light waning, every crack of a twig echoing like a scream in her ears. Soon, the playful atmosphere twisted into something sinister. Jamie, bouncing from tree to tree, suddenly froze, eyes wide. A rustling sound slithered through the trees, blending the normal with the unholy. Was that a cry? A chill racing down her spine made her shudder, and the laughter of her children felt distant, enveloped instead by the suffocating silence. A thick fog rolled in, wrapping the trees in a ghostly embrace. "Mom? What's that?" Jamie pointed ahead. Shadows flickered, forms moving rhythmically amongst the fog. Whispers echoed, too faint to decipher but too familiar for comfort. In a heartbeat, the atmosphere thickened, and Sarah felt the weight of unseen eyes upon them, peering through the chilling mist. Before she could even respond, the murmurs sharpened, invading her thoughts. Secrets, so many secrets. The trees felt alive, the branches reaching out with gnarled fingers, the canopies shifting like restless spirits. Panic bubbled within her, she could sense her kids' confusion turning into anxiety. The forest was digging into her past, unearthing buried truths she wasn't prepared to confront. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Out of the mist, a figure emerged, somehow both familiar and utterly foreign. It was a shape from her past, twisted and shadowed, moving with a purposeful grace that sent shockwaves of terror coursing through her veins. "No. This can't be real," Sarah gasped. Her heart pounded, the whispers transforming into shrieks, clawing at her sanity. Would they stumble upon the truth buried in these woods? Or would the stories consume them? As the tension coiled tighter, trapping them in its grip, Sarah stood frozen, faced with the darkness that now loomed more near than ever. What secrets lurked within those terrifying depths? Would they escape before it was too late? The figure stepped closer, its features obscured by the fog, yet Sarah felt an inexplicable pull, an unending ache in her heart. "Mom!" Jamie's voice cracked, panic rising as the shadows flickered yet again. Lily clung to Sarah's leg, her small body trembling, eyes wide with fear. "Stay close," Sarah shouted, her voice thick with urgency, but her heart raced with something deeper, an instinctual terror she couldn't shake. The familiarity of the figure clawed at her thoughts, stirring memories best left unremembered. The mist swirled like spirits rebelling against the living, and just when she thought it might pass, the sound of a child's laughter echoed through the woods, fractured and mournful. "Did you hear that?" Jamie asked, straining to see what lurked behind the gnarled trunks. The dominant silence returned, a daunting presence that seeped into Sarah's bones. They were not alone. The whispering trees seemed to resonate with the children's laughter, haunting, ominous, drawing them deeper. "Let us go back," Sarah urged, forcing her feet to move. She grasped Jamie and Lily's hands, pulling them along, desperate to distance themselves from whatever horror had just emerged. But the forest had other plans. The path twisted, branches clawing at them like skeletal fingers, misdirecting their escape. "Mom, it won't let us go." Jamie struggled against her grip, his voice echoing the dread boiling inside her. Sarah's resolve crumbled as she turned back, her maternal instincts battling with her fear. The figure loomed closer, its features coming into focus in ethereal flickers. It was her, a twisted reflection twisted in shadows, lips curling into an unsettling smile she knew too well. It was her past come alive, taunting her, dredging up the unholy memories she had buried deep within. "Run!" she barked, pulling the kids frantically through the thickening mist. The trees began to close in around them, their roots snatching at feet, his disembodied laughter trailing, mocking her in that suffocating haze. Whispers transformed into screams, circling in her mind, threatening to drown out everything. The fog parted momentarily, revealing a clearing. A flickering light appeared, drawing Sarah closer. It flickered like a beacon of hope, but was this light salvation or a lure? The ground beneath them shuddered like a beast awakening, eerie silhouettes darting along the edges, sharp shadows dancing across their path. "Mom, no." Lily's voice trembled as her small feet stumbled, clutching tightly to Sarah's shirt. Everything around them became a carnival of terror, morphing into their worst nightmares. Then, abruptly, the figure stood at the edge of the clearing. It raised an arm, beyond the shape of a familiar childhood face draped in darkness. "You can't escape your past," Sarah it breathed, each word slithering through the air like smoke from a fire. "This forest remembers, frozen in place, time seemed to shatter." The ground rumbled again as if the earth itself demanded her attention. Jamie's grip slipped. A flash of panic surged through Sarah as she whipped around just in time to see him teetering on the edge of an open abyss. "Jamie!" she screamed, fear seizing her heart like steel. Just before he disappeared, the world flipped. The haunting laughter and screams faded into silence, and that isolating darkness threatened to swallow them whole. Sarah felt herself step forward, ready to reach, but the forest seemed to pull them apart. With a twinge in her gut, she glimpsed what lay ahead, a tunnel of darkness that seemed almost inviting. What would they find if they traversed that darkness? Would they regain their loved ones, or would they spiral into the abyss of despair trapped within the haunted woods? Behind her, the laughter echoed once more, sending violent tremors through her resolve. She had to decide. Stay in the cursed forest or plunge into the unknown? The choice loomed perilously close, and with it, a revelation that might either save them or doom them all. The darkness surged forward like a living veil, eager to swallow them whole. It beckoned with sinister whispers, felt more than heard, threading through the trees. Sarah took a deep breath, her heart pounding like a drum, marching the tempo of her dread. Jamie was gone. A sickening pit formed in her stomach, twisting tighter with each passing second. "Lily, follow me," Sarah cried out, clutching her daughter tightly. The girl's small frame shook against her, but there was no time for hesitation. The shadows danced, writhing and undulating, morphing into monstrous shapes meant to frighten. The laughter continued, an echo pulled from memories not easily forgotten. It twisted into tears, into terrified screams from a time long past. "Mom, what if we don't find him?" Lily whimpered, her eyes wide and filled with unshed tears. "We will," Sarah reassured, though her voice cracked. "We'll find Jamie, I promise." But every assurance felt like a lie coating her tongue. The path ahead twisted into more chaos, the ground shifting underfoot as if mocking her. The forest did not want them to leave. They stumbled forward into the black maw of the tunnel, enveloped in stale air that felt like a coffin. Shadows loomed on the walls, whispers slithered through the silence, mixing with their breath, wrapping around them. The flickering light from the clearing faded behind, a ghost of a memory, as if to remind her that hope was as fleeting as the dying embers of a fire. Then came a shout, a distant call puncturing the oppressive gloom. "Mom! Help!" Jamie's voice echoed, tinged with panic. Terror surged again, propelling Sarah forward. "Jamie!" She screamed back, her heart racing, hands trembling as she dragged Lily through the dark. The tunnel yawned endlessly, as if the earth were trying to swallow her whole, but she could not falter. She could not. "Mom, I can't see." Lily cried, her voice small in the vast darkness. "It's okay, just stay close," Sarah soothed, though her own heart thudded wildly. As if in response, the shadows laughed. It was a cruel sound, echoing around them. Each step seemed to disturb some buried nightmare, releasing echoes of the past that gnawed at her sanity. "Come on, honey, just a little further." Just then, the darkness flickered. A soft glow appeared ahead, pulling at Sarah's eyes. It was Jamie. He stood with wide eyes in a patch of silver light, but something loomed behind him. Something monstrous, darker than the night itself, slinking forward with a sickening grace. Its eyes glimmered like pointed stars, hungry and malevolent. "No!" Sarah screamed as she lunged forward, but the tunnel constricted, wrapping the walls closer, threatening to crush her beneath its weight. Panic surged as she fought against the dark, grappling for every inch. "Lily, stay with me." In that desperate moment, she ran past the threshold of hope and dread. Would she ever reach Jamie? The shadows closed in, and she felt Lily pulling back, caught in some unseen force that sent sheer terror flooding through them. "Let her go!" Sarah shouted, terror clenching her heart. But the figure behind Jamie smiled, lips curling in a wicked grin. "Mommy, help!" Jamie cried again, the despair cutting through the darkness like a knife. Sarah thrust forward, ready to defy whatever haunted force conspired against them. In that split second, she felt a surge of strength. The tunnel began to rumble, exhaling breath that felt like frost against her skin. "Hold on, I'm coming!" she yelled, and with a wild rush, she leaped toward the light. But in doing so, she understood too late, some doors should never be opened, and some pasts are buried for a reason. With a shattering crash, the darkness erupted, revealing the faces of her past twisted and wretched, smiling with the innocence that had long since vanished. The tunnel swelled, and Sarah took stock of a choice she had not been prepared for. The path forward was uncertain, the figures behind relentless. As the shadows surged closer, she faced an eerie reality. To save Jamie, she must confront the secrets of her own soul. Could she risk everything to uncover what lay within? What awaited them on the other side of that looming darkness? As the figures stretched out their hands, she braced herself for salvation or doom. The choice was no longer just about escape, it was about facing the nightmare of her own making. Would she dare to step into the truth, or would she be consumed instead? Sarah's heart raced, pounding like a wild beast desperate to break free. The faces in the shadows twisted and warped, each one holding a mirror to her soul's darkest corners. Could she bear seeing what lay within her? She felt Lily tremble beside her, a small hand gripping her own with such frailty that it grounded her momentarily against the chaos swirling in her mind. "I want to lose you," she whispered, though the words felt inadequate against the tide of fear. The moment hung heavy, breathless and taut, as if the world around them observed and waited. The specters loomed, not merely figures but shadows of memories long buried, choices made, voices forgotten, laughter that had turned into screams. Each face smirked, unrepentant, reminding her of the past she had tried to escape. "Face us!" One screeched, its voice a rustling of leaves and broken glass. "Get away from my family!" Sarah shouted, her voice fierce despite the quaking terror within. She felt the air thicken, as if the very darkness craved to snuff out her defiance. The laughter intensified, rising and swirling like a hurricane, fingers of despair creeping up her spine. In that haze, a flash of Jamie's terrified face cut through, and her resolve hardened. She took a step toward the light, but the figures surged, blocking her path. They reached out, skeletal hands clawing through the fabric of the darkness. "You can't change the past." They taunted, their voices a cacophony that twisted her thoughts into a terrifying spiral. "Watch me," she screamed back. She thought of Jamie, of Lily, of the love that anchored her amidst the storm. With newfound determination, she squeezed Lily's hand tighter and broke into a run, pushing through the thick darkness, willing herself to reach the luminous patch that held her son. The shadows shrieked in anger, reaching out with cold fingers that snagged at her clothing, clawing at her skin like the relentless grip of guilt. "Mom!" Jamie's voice echoed again, a beacon guiding her through. She could almost feel his presence, a warmth fighting against the chill that enveloped them. "Just a little closer." She panted, each word a prayer as she fought to defy the oppressive pull of the past. The laughter faded into the background, replaced by something darker, something more sinister, a growl that vibrated through the ground beneath her feet. It rippled up her legs, an icy promise of despair. Then, as if the earth heaved, a shadow detached itself from the others, more substantial, cloaked in rage and malice. The creature's eyes glinted with an intelligence that chilled Sarah to her core. It moved toward them, its form shifting and stretching as if it were made of smoke and nightmares. "Mommy, I'm scared," Lily cried, her voice shaking. "Stay close." It was all Sarah could say as the entity lunged forward, as if drawn by the essence of her fear. The atmosphere thickened, pressing down with the weight of unspeakable sorrow. Suddenly, they broke through the last barriers of darkness and stumbled into the clearing. The moon hung high, casting a sickly light over the ground. There lay Jamie, still and pale, looking like a ghost adrift in the night. "Jamie!" Sarah rushed forward, but as she stepped into the pale glow, the presence behind her hissed, the sound splintering what little calm remained. The earth trembled, and the boundary blurred behind her, preparing to engulf them once more. "Don't turn back." An echo called from the deep shadows, "We'll always find you." The air crackled with energy, desperation pooling within Sarah. She fought against the icy grip of dread wrapping around her heart. The moment hung, pregnant with chaos, and she knew the darkness would not let them go. But there was no time to dwell. She had to save Jamie and escape this shattered world, or risk losing everything in the depths of regret. As she reached out to Jamie, the shadows in the clearing swelled, a feverish surge eager to reclaim their quarry. Would they be lost to the darkness forever, or would she find the strength to stand against it? In that moment, standing on the edge of decisions that could alter the fates before her, another question loomed: what horrors awaited in the depths of the forest if she chose to confront them? Sarah reached Jamie, her fingertips brushing against his cold cheek. Panic coursed through her veins as she knelt beside him. "Wake up, baby. Please." Her voice cracked under the weight of despair, desperation clawing at her throat. She shook him lightly, but his body remained limp. Behind her, the shadows roiled and twisted, swirling ominously. The hiss grew louder, a rattling breath full of malice. "The light won't save you," the creature hissed, its voice echoing with a taunting cadence that reverberated through the clearing. A chill raced down Sarah's spine. She pushed forward, her eyes locked on Jamie's pale face. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown, urging her to move faster. "Please, Jamie. Come back to me," she cried, falling to her knees as she cradled his head in her arms. Just then, she felt something shift in the air. It was the unmistakable presence of something watching, lurking just beyond the edge of the clearing. The shadows began to pulse and writhe, attempting to encircle them like a tightening noose. The flickering moonlight illuminated glimpses of anguished faces, twisted in rage. "Sarah," a voice whispered soft, yet laden with sorrow. It was Jamie's voice, but it sounded distant, like a fading echo that made her heart ache. "Help me hold on," she shouted, crushing her fear beneath the fierce weight of maternal love. Her fingers brushed over Jamie's arm, trembling yet resolute. "I want to let you go." But as she focused on him, the darkness devolved into a roar. The creature, formless yet tangible, surged forward. You think your love is enough? Its voice scraped against her psyche. Love cannot save you from the past. It only binds you tighter. The shadows surged, reaching out with curling fingers, clawing at her hair and skin, pulling her into their suffocating grip. Sarah gasped, eyes wide. She felt the memories pulling her in the moments she tried to escape. The faces of those she had lost flickered before her, her father's last smile, her sister's parting words. All filled with regrets she had buried deep. Stop! She screamed, forcing her focus back to Jamie, pouring every ounce of her strength into the barrier of love surrounding them. You will not take him. Suddenly, the moonlight flickered as if responding to her will. A beam shot down, illuminating their entangled bodies. The shadows recoiled, hissing in anger, the warmth seeping through Sarah, giving her strength. No! That light is not yours. The entity shrieked, clawing at the edge of the illumination. Lily's small voice broke through the chaos, filled with courage. Mom! I'm with you. For a moment, the clarity of their connection felt like armor against the encroaching darkness. Sarah's heart clenched tighter. They were not just fighting for Jamie, it was a fight for their family, their very existence. Just then, something shifted in the shadows. A darkness darker than the rest slinked closer, its eyes a bottomless pit of despair, promising to reveal the secrets Sarah desperately wished to bury. It pressed against the light, seeking entry, its malicious intentions clear. Your fight cannot last, the creature called, voice low and serpentine. There are truths buried in these woods, truths about you and this boy. Anguish coiled within Sarah, but she squeezed Jamie's hand with all her might, feeling a flicker of warmth fight against the encroaching chill. Don't listen to it. She urged, shaking him gently. Just wake up. But deep inside, dread slinked into her mind. What truths could the darkness reveal? What would she discover if she dared confront her past in full? The night grew thick with tension, the air crackling with despair, as questions and fears swirled around and around, dancing just beyond her grasp. What truths would the forest expose? Would uncovering them save her, or lead them deeper into the abyss? Would Jamie emerge from his slumber, or would he remain lost forever? Above it all, the darkness lurked, waiting to pounce. The creature's whisper wrapped around Sarah like a noose, squeezing her chest. Every heartbeat echoing against the void felt like a hammer striking metal. The shadows pulsed, a living mass, ready to snap, to drag her into a chasm of despair. Jamie's frail form lay cradled in her arms as she fought to maintain her grip on him amidst the chaos. Come back to me. She cried, desperation painting her voice with urgency. Fear twisted like a knife in her gut. She was losing him, losing them both. Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through her palm where she held Jamie's hand. It felt like ice slicing through her flesh. She gasped, startled, and pulled away. Blood trickled from a gash that had appeared without warning, and it pooled on the ground between them. The shadows seemed to pause, drawn like moths to a flame. Stop! She hissed, fighting both the pain and the rising tide of panic. She glanced wildly around, the weight of the darkness pressing in on her. This ends now. But the shadows, emboldened by her weakness, sprang forward, oscillating with dark delight. You think blood is the sacrifice we seek? The creature hissed, its voice slithering like a serpent. The past will claim its due, and your regrets will not leave unscathed. Sarah's heart raced. Unable to stand idle any longer, she pressed her palm against Jamie's forehead, willing every ounce of love into him. You have to fight, sweetheart. Push through. Her voice trembled but remained strong. Lily's voice, although distant, cut through the din. Mom, I can feel it. The forest, it wants you to give in. I won tea. Sarah roared back, shaking with emotion. I refuse to give in. But the shadows smirked, creeping toward Lily too. The air shifted, pulling Sarah's attention. There, beyond the clearing, the trees trembled. Whispers filled her ears, a cacophony of lost souls clamoring for attention. The truth is near. Embrace it, Sarah. Faces emerged from the darkness, specters of her past, people she had wronged, moments she regretted. They beckoned her, their mouths moving, though she couldn't hear their words. No. She pressed her hands against her ears, trying to block them out. You're not real. But the shadows twisted in delight, feasting on her denial. What if they are? The creature taunted, its presence growing stronger as if it were feeding off her fear. What if acknowledging them could save him? Shaking, Sarah looked down at Jamie's lifeless body and felt the pool of her own blood seeping into the earth. Was this really what she had wanted? To confront everything she had buried? The heavy weight of realization sank deeper. Her freedom had always been tethered to her past. Jamie, please. I need you. She cried again, tears mixing with the blood on her hands. The darkness pulsed. From the edge of the clearing, a shadow with gouged eyes loomed larger, a mass of pain and horror. It hesitated only a breath away from the light, hungry. Then, in a heartbeat, Jamie's eyes flickered open, and he gasped, sucking in a breath that echoed through the forest. The shadows recoiled, hissing, sensing the shift. But before Sarah could shout in relief, Jamie turned his gaze to her, confusion clouding his features. Mom? He stammered, his voice tremulous. The air crackled around them, the veil of darkness quivering as if waiting for a response it could twist against them. The shadows felt closer, eager to pounce on their moment of vulnerability. Jamie! She exclaimed, relief flooding her heart, yet dread lingered at the edges of her mind. The terrible truth of her past whispered at the edge of her consciousness, demanding to be heard. What have you done? The creature hissed, its voice a cold caress. You thought love would suffice? You never knew the cost. Sarah's heart remained restless, knowing the battle wasn't yet over. What do you mean? She whispered, a chilling sense of foreboding creeping up her spine. As the shadows shifted closer, enveloping the clearing like a dark tide, Jamie's promise of hope mingled with the horrors lurking just beyond their sight. What secrets would the night unveil? And how much would they have to endure to truly be free? Mom, I don't feel right. Jamie's words hung in the air, heavy and tentative. His brow furrowed, confusion etched deeply across his face. The momentary relief that blossomed within Sarah was squashed under the weight of fear that clawed at her insides. The shadows trembled as if stirred by something electric, narrowing their focus on Jamie's half-finished transformation. The light is fading, the creature whispered, each syllable a wet slither. You have awakened him, but at what cost? Sarah crouched closer to Jamie, her fingers brushing his cheek as if to anchor his fragile spirit. It's okay. We'll get through this together. Jamie shuddered, his breath uneven. Mom, they're everywhere. His gaze turned to the darkness pooling around them, eyes wide with terror. As the trees creaked, the whispers grew louder, an unsettling chorus that seemed to respond to his fear. No! Sarah shouted, her voice breaking through the shadowy cacophony. You want to take him. Not now. But with a crackle, as if the forest itself had taken offense, the shadows lunged, wrapping tendrils of darkness around them, tightening like a vice. Jamie whimpered, gritting his teeth as tendrils found their way to his throat, the unseen weight pressing down, squeezing the life from him. A wave of anger surged through Sarah's chest, igniting her courage. Get away from him. She growled, her eyes narrowing on the mass of evil that writhed before her. Your strength is futile, Sarah, the creature cooed, its voice soft yet laced with malice. The past has its grasp on you, holding you in place, and now your son pays the price. Gradually, she felt the shadows begin to spill over her, blood pooling on the ground. She remembered the faces of her regrets, each one a heavy stone pulling her deeper into despair. What would this darkness reveal? She couldn't let it claim them both. Jamie, hold tight to me, she urged. Her heart raced as she delved deep into the reservoir of her memories. You have to fight. Remember the time at the lake? When you caught that fish all on your own? His eyes flickered with a hint of the boy she knew, his scrunched brows softened just for a moment. The biggest one. Yes, that's right. You were so proud. You fought for every moment of joy. Sarah pressed, feeling the shadows quiver against her resolve. That one was too slippery. Jamie's voice trembled, caught between worlds, yet vibrant with a shadow of defiance. Then fight harder. Sarah cried, her voice blending with the primal roar of her desperation. You have so much to live for. We both do. The creature screeched, and the shadows recoiled as they felt her force. The forest is merciless, killing the dreams of the living. It hissed, forcing its way back into the fray. Glimpses of half-formed faces danced in the darkness, flickering like dying flames. A cost must always be paid. No. I won't let you. Sarah screamed, drawing strength from every ounce of love she had, every moment she cherished. Jamie, we can't give in. He nodded, a new fire igniting in his eyes as he squinted against the dark tide. Don't let go. The shadows surged forward again, more frantic now, drawn to the light she began to channel between them. What was ahead felt unclear, yet a stirring sense of hope wafted between their trembling bodies. But suddenly, as a blinding flash flickered around them, a howl of anguish pierced the night. The faces in the shadows writhed, transforming into an unrecognizable form, a grotesque reminder of all that had been lost. Everything will be taken from you. It screeched, filling the air with a rancid scent of despair. As the floodgates of the past threatened to overflow, Sarah clutched her son tighter, unwilling to yield. We are not afraid. She shouted, as a new scream joined the echo of the forest, a sound both familiar and jarring. Then she froze, eyes wide. Is that Lily? The tension thickened, the shadows wavered, and darkness curled around them, a new thread emerging from the depths, ready to drag them all into the depths of despair. Would they have the strength to confront whatever awaited them? The forest shuddered, a pause lingering in the chilling air. Just then, a skeletal arm shot from the darkness, reaching toward Jamie, a desperate grasp for what might still be alive. Sarah's heart raced as the skeletal arm stretched like a ghastly vine toward Jamie. Its fingers were brittle, jagged, longing for warmth, life. The sight sent a cold chill rippling through her body, paralyzing her for a brief moment, but instinct kicked in. She leapt forward, positioning herself between her son and the encroaching terror. Leave him alone. Sarah shouted, her voice laced with an urgency that sliced through the darkness. The arm recoiled, writhing back before it disappeared into the shadows, making the darkness sway as if it had been scalded. The whispering ceased abruptly, replaced by a heavy silence that felt almost alive, pulsating with dread. Jamie's breath hitched in his throat, his wide eyes darting, searching for reassurance. Mom, what is happening? I don't know, she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. But we have to keep moving. We can't stay here. The air seemed to thicken with every second, the atmosphere laden with the weight of countless lost souls. As Sarah scanned their surroundings, she thought she saw figures lurking in the fog, eyes blinking open and closed, shadows swaying with a life of their own. For a fleeting second, she thought she recognized them, the faces of people she had known, friends and family long gone, blurred by time and grief. No, she murmured as she squeezed Jamie's hand tighter, her own body trembling under the vision of lost warmth. They can't come back. Not now. With each step, the forest shifted around them, trees bending inward, their gnarled branches reaching as if trying to enclose them. The whispers returned, growing louder, wrapping around her like chains, echoing words of sorrow and regrets. It was as if the forest was sharing its history, a tale of despair that mirrored her own. Sarah, came the uneasy voice again, vibrant with malice. You are being watched. Your missteps are known. They cannot save you. Suddenly, in another blinding flash of something unworldly, the shadows seeped closer, engulfing her legs, gnawing at her resolve. Memories cascaded in like a dark tide, moments with Lily, laughter echoing in sunlight now drenched in sorrow. The scent of spring flowers twisted to something rotten, a reminder of what had been taken. "Fight it, Jamie," she cried, pulling him closer. "Remember the good. The laughter. The sun on your face." Jamie appeared to struggle, the dual pull of past and present tearing at the seams of his mind. "I can see them, Mom. I see them." He choked out, tears spilling down his cheeks, mingling with the grime and blood. "It's like they're all trying to talk to me. What do they want?" The shadows twisted, answering him with a hiss. "They want you. Join us, little one. Let us guide you into eternal bliss." Sarah's instincts roared to life. "No. We don't belong to you," she shouted, her voice cutting through the dark like a blade. "You don't own us." Just beyond the pull of darkness, the skeletal arm reappeared. It was followed by more appendages, emerging from the depths, each reaching, grasping, a horrible chorus of desires manifesting. Sarah steeled herself, remembering what had once brought them joy. "Focus on me, Jamie. Think of the lake. The sun shining, the fish splashing." In that moment it was as if a light had flickered in Jamie's chest, a small ember pushing against the suffocating gloom. "The fish," he whispered, almost to himself. But the shadows convulsed violently, a growl vibrating through the air. "Your joy is our despair. Bring forth the price." The ground quaked beneath them, roots and branches rising like serpents out of the soil, coiling around their feet, pulling downward as if trying to drag them under. Would they be snatched into the underbelly of the forest, lost among its buried horrors? Just as Sarah felt the cold earth inching closer to her legs, Jamie's voice burst forth, stronger now. "I want to let you take me." A sudden rush filled the air, her son's courage like a flare illuminating the suffocating gloom. It ignited something within her too, a flicker of undeniable power. "Don't give in, Jamie. We're stronger. Together." But then, without warning, a cacophony of laughter erupted around them, mocking laughter. Shadows morphed, forming grotesque figures that danced amidst the trees. "What lies beyond the darkness?" one of the figures crooned, weaving through the twisted branches. Sarah's heart stopped. Could they actually break through the sinister grip of the forest, or would they be condemned to a fate more terrifying than death itself? All her instincts screamed for flight, but she felt something shifting in Jamie, a spark of rebellion that didn't come from her but from deep within him. How far could it take them? And then, just as she thought they might prevail, the forest gasped, the ground convulsed again, and she heard the chant ripple through the darkness. "Come join us." As the walls of shadows began to close in once more, Sarah braced herself. This battle was just beginning. Would the truth behind Lily's disappearance help unleash the ties binding them? Or would it lead them deeper into shadow? The laughter surrounded them, echoing with a twisted joy as Sarah tightened her grip on Jamie's hand. The ground trembled beneath them, but they stood resolute, their breaths hitching the air thick with fear and sorrow. It felt like the shadows were not just alive, but were yearning to wrap around them, to pull them into the depths of despair where nothing lived, yet everything waited. "Mom, they're coming!" Jamie yelled, his voice breaking as an arm of darkness shot toward him again, snapping like a twig in the wind. He stumbled back, nearly losing his footing, but Sarah pulled him close. Panic surged in her chest, but she forced it down, smothering it under an iron will. With every heartbeat, the forest sang its grim melody. It challenged them, dared them to listen, to submit. "Take our hands, join our dance," the sinister chorus invitingly proclaimed, rustling the leaves as if tickling the air with its malevolence. The figures in the shadows seemed to melt and reform, bodies twisting into faces that twisted her insides, a mother, a daughter, a friend, all crying, confused, begging for release, shimmering in agony and desire. "No. This isn't real," Sarah shouted, desperation spilling over. She cast her gaze around, searching, clawing at memories, anything that would anchor her here. "This is a lie." But truth blurred and morphed with deception, the forest weaving its own narrative, a tapestry of loss, regret, Jamie's small face reflected that struggle, the battle between innocence and the seductive whisperings of the past. "Remember the joy, Jamie," she urged, the words tumbling from her mouth like lifebuoys thrown into a stormy sea. "Remember what we have. We can get through this." The weight of Jamie's fear pressed heavily against her heart, but he nodded, an ember flickering in his eyes. "The lake, Mom, I think I can see it." The shadows roared, a cacophony of rage echoing through the suffocating mist. "Leave us. Seek not the light," they shrieked, the ground beneath them twisting, as though trying to form a whirlpool, threatening to drag them down into the depths. But she could see it, two glimmers of water reflecting sunlight, carefree laughter skipping across the surface, the smell of grass and warmth wrapping around them. "That's right. The fish, the sun, the happiness. Hold on to that, Jamie." "Mom!" he screamed, a wave of fear in his voice that slashed through her resolve. "They're getting closer." The shadows raced forward, fingers stretching like trees uprooted in a storm, eager to snatch them, to drown them in despair. Sarah felt a surge of urgency build within her, a swelling tide. "Fight it. For each fish caught, for every laugh shared, we push back." But the shadows balked at her defiance, pressing closer, intertwining around their legs, growing hot like coals beneath her skin. The darkness rippled and surged, tantalizingly close. "Join us, Sarah. Join us, Jamie." They taunted, their chorus melded with familiar voices that tugged at heartstrings, the tantalizing sonority of loved ones lost and the bitter sweetness of remembered joy. With a sudden push, Sarah remembered the mornings filled with laughter and light, Lily's bright smile. "No. You're not our truth." She could feel Jamie's warmth beside her, and it filled her with strength, igniting a spark at the core of her being. "Mom, we need to go to the lake. That's how we escape," he shouted, his voice raw with desperation and hope. The very air crackled around them as they turned to run, the shadows lashing out, cruel fingers reaching for them, angered by their defiance. "You will pay. The price must be paid," they screeched, a storm of wrath following in their wake. With each hurried step, the forest morphed, but now they had direction, the ghostly trail of memories guiding them toward an unseen sanctuary. But every heartbeat pounded a warning: would the darkness allow them to break free, or was the grip of the forest too strong, an inescapable fate waiting to swallow them whole? As they raced on, shadows whipped around, bitterness heavy in the air. The questions loomed ever closer. Would they arrive at the lake in time, and what truths awaited them there, hidden beneath its shimmering surface? They burst through a tangled grove, the thick mist parting to reveal a familiar sight. The clearing opened up before them, bathed in the ethereal glow of the moonlight reflecting off the lake's surface. It glittered like a scattered constellation, an oasis among the suffocating shadows. "We're almost there," Sarah gasped, hope igniting in her chest, but the shadows snarled angrily behind them, the grating whispers rising to a maddening crescendo. "Don't look back," she urged, the urgency soaring in her heart. Each step felt like a tightrope walk over a chasm, the shadows springing forth, desperate to reclaim what they had lost. Jamie's grip on her hand was strong, yet trembling, as though he felt the weight of the darkness clinging to their heels. "Mom, I can feel them. They want to pull us back," he yelled, fear lacing his voice. "I know," Sarah replied, driven forward by sheer will. "But we can't give in. We're stronger together." The lake shimmered invitingly, but she dreaded what it might reveal. Yet, she knew this confrontation was necessary not only for them, but for the trapped souls, the whispers echoing all around. They were reaching the water's edge, the surface reflective, glowing with the promise of truth. The shadows lunged, grasping at their ankles, threatening to drag them down into a horror more profound than they could comprehend. "Feel the warmth of the sun," Sarah shouted, grasping at memories that fueled her energy, willing Jamie to remember the joy they shared. The visions of laughter drifted through her mind, fighting back against the grasp of despair. "Think of Lily. The times we spent as a family." Just as they nearly lost their footing, they reached the water's edge. Sarah knelt and cupped her hand in the cool lake, the sensation jolting through her a reminder of life, of everything she fought for. This is the moment. She cried out, raising her hand as the water caught the moonlight. We're more than our pasts. We are so much stronger. A ripple spread across the lake like a heartbeat, pulsating in tune with their own. As the shadows encroached, the translucent fingers shrieked, summoning a tempest of rage and despair. You cannot escape. Join us. They wailed, but as Sarah dipped her fingertips into the water, something extraordinary happened. The silver of the lake responded, reflecting not just their images but memories. A cascade of moments flickered in every ripple, songs, laughter, fleeting sunlight, joys buried far too deep. Look, Jamie! She shouted. It's all in there, our memories, our love. That's what we are. What do we do? Jamie's voice trembled as the darkness hissed resentfully, the shadows recoiling for a brief moment, seemingly afraid of the light coming forth from their memories. Remember what it felt like. The warmth, the laughter. She pressed on, pulling him closer to the water's edge. We need to dive in together, we can bring all of it back. As if sensing their resolve, the darkness surged once more, rushing toward them with godlike fury. You will pay the price. It roared. But Sarah would not yield. With a fierce sense of purpose, she grasped Jamie's hand tighter and took a deep breath. On 3. 1, 2. Their hearts raced, adrenaline coursing through their veins like wildfire. 3. They both dove into the lake, the water enveloping them in a shock of cold clarity. For moments, darkness engulfed them, yet as they sank deeper, a light broke through, a warm, radiant glow pulling at their consciousness. Faces and figures began to appear, bathed in brilliant luminescence, the lost souls whom the forest had claimed. They moved gently through the water, swirling around them, their soft expressions imbued with understanding. Then came a loud, chilling wail from the depths of the forest, the creature, angry and relentless. You cannot escape your sorrow. Rendering the maw of shadow impotent, the spirits began to join their memories, integrating into the shimmering light of the lake, offering a funnel of warmth and strength, a true testament of love against the darkness. Fight through it. Sarah's heart soared with the joy of connection, connecting not only with her son but with those they had lost along the way. We will embrace this together. Face the shadows. Above them, the surface rumbled with fury but softly closed the vast chasm of anger and despair. With every bit of courage, they swam deeper, the glow pulling them further from the taint of the forest and into the safe embrace of the light. For Sarah, the darkness fell away, even the whispers faded. She felt herself breaking free from the chains that once bound her. With a final push, they emerged from the depths, gasping and sputtering, flinging water from their faces. The lake seemed to welcome them, the dark tide behind receding like a storm-drenched night. Breathless and alive, Jamie blinked at the radiant moonlight surrounding them. Mom! He gasped, relief washing over his expression. Did we? Yes. We did. She cheered, embracing him tightly, drawing strength from their shared victory. The figure of the monster pulsed and wailed while retreating into the shadows, realizing it could no longer hold power over them. It frantically searched for a sinew of fear to clutch, but their connection to love had severed the strings binding them to the darkness. In that moment, they turned to embrace the trill of laughter echoing from the depths of the forest and felt a sensation of warm vibration, a signal of transformation start anew. The forest whispered soft promises through the leaves, hinting at healing and hope at the countless lost souls now dancing, forever free. Let us go home, Sarah said softly, her heart swelling with gratitude. As they emerged from the forest, the path unfolded before them, a radiant route leading toward sunrise. Together, they walked forward, as light enveloped them both, vanquishing the shadows of despair forevermore. And behind, the haunted forest lay silent, transformed, a testament to the strength found not only in facing darkness but in embracing love's enduring power. As they left those haunted woods behind, Sarah felt a warmth building inside, a reminder that even in the depths of despair, hope and healing could always light the way home. Don't let this moment slip away. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive story filled with adventure and emotion. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help others discover this amazing journey. Flood the comments with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about this thrilling conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see the magic unfold. This is the moment to show your support.